deal with things. Don't not deal with things, but don't harbor things. Don't hold grudges. Just take time for yourself, be happy, and I think everything is going to be good for you in the long run because you're focusing on yourself and you're focusing on your mental health, and people will see that around you, and positivity rubs off.
Yeah,
So that's a huge
because
thing.
and because look, bad things are going to happen this year. The life
Yeah,
happens, and the
it
things
does.
that are going to happen that are not in your control. We're what, 14, 15 days in. I've already had some roadblocks pop up for me, but I
Yeah.
approach them with a positive attitude.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything's Okay, a mental health podcast brought to you by the one and only Crazy Ant Media. And this is the first episode of 2024. And
Yes.
not only do I think it's going to be a great year, but Dustin thinks it's going to be a great year as well. So it's only fitting to have our first episode be all about our mental health goals for 2024. And boy, oh boy, I feel like a lot of ours line up
Yeah.
to probably around the same thing. But I mean, it's going to be a big year for us, and I'm really excited about it. Not just for obviously Crazy Ant, but for us both personally as well. I mean, I'm getting married. Your daughter is getting married. Like I mean, that's a huge thing
And you guys happen to be getting married to each other.
to
for
each other.
for
Yeah.
anybody that's new to all this and doesn't know us, that's how that's going down. So yeah, my daughter's. I'm giving away my daughter, but I'm gaining a son-in-law, which I've had around for like 6, 7 years now. It's fine. He's already family. But it's gonna be, it's gonna be an amazing year. There's a lot of transformation in our family. There's a lot of transformation in our company, in our careers, and what we're doing. And so that's really exciting. But I'm really excited to talk about this, and I'm so glad. And first of all, can we just say a huge thank you to everybody who has been with us since we launched this thing last January. The first season took off. We saw it grow at speeds that we weren't used to. We've been doing our other podcast for 7 years, and we had to slow build that up to the massive audience that it has. This one, you guys just jumped right in. We saw huge growth, and you stuck with us, and it's been amazing. It was an amazing first year, and we were very vulnerable. We had never opened up publicly before about things in our lives and shared things the way that we shared in those episodes throughout that first season. And we joked all the time about how it was therapy for us. It was like literally. And so we're so excited about this second year, and a huge welcome to anybody that's new to the show listening. You're going to get to know Logan and I on a whole new level. We highly recommend, if you haven't, go back and listen to those first episodes of the first season. Listen to those. You'll find out a little bit about us and our background and everything, and we're just going to continue to dive into things this year. We're not going to hesitate on touching on some subjects that are very heavy for us, and things that mess with mental health, not just for us, but people that we know, and family and friends, and all of you. So yeah, it's gonna be a really fun year. I'm looking forward to another full year of therapy sessions.
Yeah, right. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I mean, to be able to already feeling some of these goals being put into place and already alleviating pressure and stress off of my shoulders, I know specifically for, I'm sure yours as well. And I figure we could just bounce back and forth between everything. Because I think we both have five that we like
Yeah.
really want to work on. So for me, my first one is apologize less. I have always been a big people pleaser. I've always been the person to make everybody happy. I tried to have been the golden child, especially when I've grown up with, I think 7 or 8 siblings. I've lost count after so many. So I've always been the one who just has tried to keep my shit together. That's the biggest thing. With everybody else, going through their own stuff, turmoil or what have you. But I've always tried to be the person who was on the straight and narrow to the point where, we can rely on Logan. And that was a lot of pressure to put on someone, especially when I started doing that so young.
Yeah.
So to be able to not apologize for things specifically that have nothing to do with me, to be able to lift that weight off of my shoulders so far has been amazing because I really started this journey at the beginning of December when we started to slow down for year 2023. So that's when I started to implement some of these things. And since I've been able to, not have that, not worry about what everyone else is thinking, because I am a very anxious person, I always try to get inside other people's heads and see how they react to my reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that just a rabbit hole that it just turns into a big pile of shit?
It
Um,
certainly can,
so
yeah.
it so to be able to not think that way and to be able to continue being positive and not apologize specifically for things that don't have to do with me or things that are just, not my fault at all, because we talk about it all the time. Sometimes life just happens and,
Yeah.
we're just we're puzzle pieces in the overall grand scheme of things. And I'm not going to be sorry that you didn't fit into the right piece of the puzzle. So, I mean, that's been one of the biggest things so far. So, yeah, I'm very excited to continue practicing, not apologizing as much as what I have before in the past.
So I'm gonna go with my. And so I'm just not gonna go in any kind of an order. I want to kind of go with in the same line as you because we have very similar things of our goals because we're on very similar paths. And for anybody that listened to the first season or anybody that knows me, I've been on a if you will, a redemption tour, kind of like a spiritual journey. I have really dove into the spirituality and a journey of redemption for myself. And over that time, and it's been, I can't even believe now, like a lot of years, 7 years now that I've been doing this on this journey, and I've done a lot of things. I've found forgiveness, and I've found healing, and I've been able to move past grief and so many things on this journey. But the one thing that I'm prioritizing this year in 2024, the one thing that I'm still kind of struggling with is what you were saying. I'm going to prioritize myself. I'm going to, because my whole life after my brother died, it became about making sure everybody else was okay. It was about doing whatever I had to do to make sure everybody else was okay. And at the peril of my own self sometimes, of neglecting myself by making sure everybody. So I've had a really hard time understanding that it's okay to put me first. It's okay to take care of myself because I'm not in a mentally healthy spot to take care of other people if I'm not okay myself. And I had been struggling with that. So 2024, much like you, is going to be one of my main goals for mental health is to prioritize myself and say it's okay to go inward and not focus on anybody but myself. Hey, I need a me day today. I need a vacation away from everybody at this point for a week or so. And to know that that's not a bad thing. That I shouldn't feel guilty for that, for wanting to focus on myself. Because I think sometimes, and you too, I know we've talked about this, that you feel bad for focusing on yourself. Like you're somehow ignoring other people by taking care of yourself. And that is a big part of it. Not only prioritizing myself and trying to put my own mental health and my happiness in front of, others, but to not feel guilty about it. Be like, hey, it's okay. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, and I think 2024 is definitely going to be interesting because, trying to do that. I've already run into some stuff. I don't know if you have, but when you say that you're going to do that, hey, I can't do that because I've got this that I'm doing. I'm focusing on this today kind of a thing. I've already run into some oh, well, I thought we were going to do this, or I thought you were going to, so, working past that, working past the guilt, feeling on my own, and then also having to deal with this stress that may come with, right? We're talking about alleviating stress and pressure, but sometimes changes in life bring some pressure and stress. So it's how do you deal with? Thankfully, over this 7-year journey and then this new journey all last year of this podcast and talking about mental health and therapy and everything, I've learned to deal with stress and pressure better. So, I'm just going to run and gun with that. And so, yeah, that's my first one. Prioritizing self and taking care
Yeah.
of myself.
And something too, because I feel like a lot of people misconstrued
Spirituality.
spirituality. I
There you go.
know how to say the word, but damn. It's okay. It's cold outside.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like, a lot of people they link that to religion, and you're
Right.
not on a religious experience. You're
No.
on like he's focusing on your own spirit.
Right, spiritual, my inner self, my inner soul,
Yeah.
like what my healing from within myself. It's not a religious thing.
Yeah.
It's I have religious beliefs. I mean, we all do. Either you do or you don't, and if you don't, that's a religious belief. Also, it has nothing to do with that. It's soul searching, if you will. So my spiritual awakening in this journey that I'm on is soul searching. I'm looking deep into myself and saying, where can I improve? Where can I change? How can I help others with what I've learned? That type of a journey is what I'm on. I'm glad you clarified that because there is a lot of uh, labels put on it. There's a lot of
Mhm.
misconception about it, and sometimes it's not always received well. And guys, we might even have a show this season about that to clear that all up. Because it does play very heavily. I can tell you that my spiritual journey has drastically changed my mental health. Like, I am
Yeah.
much happier and much more at peace now than I was 7 years ago, where I was in a very dark hole, in a very deep, dark spot that I was just not happy in. And so this journey has drastically changed my mental health and how I approach things and how I look at things. So, but thank you for I'm glad you brought that up because it is there's so many stereotypes and labels attached to it, and a lot of people have the wrong idea about it. So I'm glad that you brought that up, and it's a nice
Of
push for a
course.
future episode. You're a smart guy.
And I mean, I'm all about thinking ahead.
All
All
about
about
thinking
thinking ahead.
ahead.
So yeah, my next one, I mean, it's literally the same, focusing on myself because I've always felt like, especially with being in a relationship and being in certain situations to where I feel obligated to do things.
Mm,
And then now, like, being able to have those conversations to where, like, it's not it's not an obligation for me to go spend time with Emily's family, my fiance's family, or her friends or anything like that. But it's a nice thing to do. One, you get out and be social, which is good for people, even though I am very antisocial and hate being around people. But I'm good at it. It's a weird, really weird line. Um, but to have that balance is a big thing about focusing on yourself
it's
too,
huge.
especially when you're about to get married. Her and I have had that conversation to where, I'm like, if I feel uncomfortable in a situation that is not uncomfortable, I'm still gonna exit that situation just because I feel uncomfortable and it's affecting me.
Sure.
So it's one of those things. And it also is the same as, not necessarily wanting to go out and do things with her, letting her have her own personal life while I have my own personal life. And, we figure out how to be alone while being together. So that's always something that's very important to be able to find oneself. And then once you find yourself and know yourself, it's very important that you can share that love with that other person. So that's been a huge thing. And, it's not always been the easiest topic of conversation, especially with both of us being away from friends and family for so long and now being able to rekindle all of those relationships. But I feel like where we're at now from where we were in the very beginning, like the progression and the learning and the learning each other has been an amazing thing. So now I'm able to have these conversations talking about, if I'm uncomfortable or if I don't want to do this or any of those things, it's completely fine. I understand. She's all good with it and like lets me live my life. She lives her life. But then I also know, it's nice and she appreciates when I go out and do things with her and her friends. So it's one of those things where like I have that balance and it helps my social anxiety too to be able to be like, okay, we've done a lot of things this week, so on this day I'm not going to do anything. So it's one of those things to be able to balance and support each other and lean on each other and focus on oneself. So it's been an amazing thing so far.
Yeah, I love all of that because I think, and I'm happy that you guys are are doing it now and learning it now and able to shift in that direction now, because if not, it causes all kinds of trouble down the line. I remember early on in y'all's relationship, I'm just going to share this because you didn't, some knockdown, drag out fights between the two of y'all about that subject. And it was heartbreaking for me to watch because I had been through it. And I was like, uh-oh, here it goes, here it comes. They're falling into the same trap. They're falling into... So I think that one of the main things that in my marriage, and the reason that it didn't work out with Emily's mom, is because we did become very codependent. We didn't have our own lives. And I think a lot of people that enter into marriage, especially young people that enter into marriage, they feel like once you're married, you're one unit. And they forget that you're two units that are now together. It's not becoming one unit. It's still two units that are together. And I feel like the biggest demise of most marriages in the world are where they can't figure that out. They become so codependent on the relationship that they literally become one unit and forget to live their lives. And that becomes resentful, and that becomes hard to deal with. And that, so unfortunately for myself and Emily's mom, we figured that out too late. But we're in a really good spot now, and everything's fine and everything. But I'm glad to see that you guys are figuring that out, because I feel like it's so important not to become codependent. And it's okay to have separate lives while being together. It's okay if you, hey, I'm going to go out with the girls today and I'm going to just stay home. Or I'm going to go out with the guys and catch the game and she stays home. It's okay. There's no reason why you have to go together to do it. And then it's on the flip side, like you were saying, it's perfect if you want to just do it together. Hey, let's get all the friends together and have a big party or whatever. That's okay too. So I'm so glad to hear.
It's very interesting because her and I have talked about a lot recently, how, we both come from divorced families, and how, like, we're able to figure this out now before a child is in the picture. We've been together for 5+ years. So to be able to iron out all of those little nitty gritty things that in retrospect don't really matter.
Yeah.
So to be able to iron those out and be able to understand each other just the best we can before we bring another person into this world has been an amazing experience. And it's honestly, it's been a roller coaster. I mean, nobody's going to tell you anything else, but it's been an amazing thing because, like, now we can look back at those and we're like, that makes no sense, to be able to be in that sort of headspace when another person is entering in a conversation. But it's been amazing, and I love, where we're at now in our relationship. It's been great.
Well, and it's important because literally, and this is not going to make sense with what I just said, but it's absolutely true. As much as you have to maintain individuality and you're separate, the second a child comes into the picture, it becomes all about them.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of becoming a parent and having a child. The focus shifts to all about the child because now that's your job. And when the relationship isn't working and when things are wrong, the child takes the brunt of it. They're affected by it, whether you want to or not. So to figure it all out prior to bringing a child into it is a very smart thing to do. And I'm just going to credit myself and Charlotte, Emily's mom. We did an amazing job through all of our own problems to never sacrifice Emily. Emily was always the priority. It was always about making it as normal as possible for Emily and to keep it as best we could with Emily. In fact, for the early on stages, like friends and teachers and all that, nobody had even an idea that we were even not together. I mean, we were going through a divorce. Nobody even realized that we were not together anymore because we showed up at everything for Emily. We were there as parents. We were, so I take great pride in the fact that we were able to do that. Now, that said, we had arguments in front of her. We said bad things that we shouldn't have said in front of her about each other and things like that. So that's the learning process. That's but I'm really glad to hear that you understand that. That's so important to get that. And maybe that is because you did have to go through the trauma of coming from a broken family. And Emily had to go through the trauma of coming through a broken family. But now the great thing is this is that like I said during my journey, the mending and the healing and the forgiveness, we're all at a great spot where this family hangs out together all the time. And we do
Yeah.
like both broken families are now all one huge family unit that we do things together and have a really good time. So the importance of taking care of yourself and mending and healing and forgiving and learning to move on and live in the present and not the past is so critically important. So it's just all part of that journey. And it falls into what my next one is, which is setting boundaries.
Mm.
Because, like you said, it's okay to say, I'm uncomfortable with this. I don't like this. This isn't right. This isn't working for me. I feel like so many times when you enter into a relationship with someone, it becomes all about trying to please the other person, and you start to sacrifice your own self for the needs of the other person. And even though you know you're just dying inside, you're miserable because what you're doing isn't what you want. If you don't establish boundaries for yourself, you get into all kinds of trouble. Not just in your relationship, but in life. That's when it all starts to cave in all around you outside of the relationship, but at work and in social circles. And you have to understand that it's okay to set boundaries. I'm not accepting this. I am asking this of you. I am saying this is not okay to do to me. And once you learn to establish those boundaries, and this is in the process that I'm also in right now, learning to set boundaries. I will not let you speak to me that way. I will not let this be a thing, because I usually take it because I, like you, always put other people first and always try to please other people. And sometimes I get rolled over for that. And so I'm learning now to set boundaries. Hey, this isn't okay. I'm going to have to cut you off. I'm going to have to put this wall up right now because you are invading a space that I don't want you in. And so one of my main goals for this year is to continue to learn how to set boundaries. And again, I think my theme for the whole year with my mental health in 2024 is not feeling guilty about doing those things. I'm going to prioritize myself. And if like you had a great analogy earlier in this conversation about puzzle and fitting in or not fitting in, I'm going to prioritize myself. And if you don't fit into my little puzzle of how I'm setting a boundary. And if that boundary means keeping you out of my puzzle, then that's what's going to have to happen. And not feeling bad about doing that. So, because I think we deal with that all the time. It's like, oh, I'm being tough. I'm setting this boundary and I know I'm doing it right. And then we go and, crash about it and say, oh my God, am I doing it right? Am I being mean? Should I not do that kind of a thing? You have to understand that when not only is it right to set the boundary, but it's okay to not feel bad about setting the boundary. So that falls into mine. Prioritize self. Number 2, establish boundaries and know that it's okay to put boundaries out there and say that this is how it's going to be. This is what I expect from you. This is what you should expect from me. And if you're not okay with that, then it's okay to not be a part of it. And so that's another main goal that I have, is learning to establish those boundaries in a healthy way.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes right into mine about realizing it's okay to say no. Because with being a people pleaser and with being, trying to be the person that everybody likes, no matter what, you find yourself in situations when you're doing stuff that you don't really want to do, or you're, sacrificing time for other things because you said yes to something that you didn't want to do or didn't really have time for, and then things crumble down overall in the end anyway. But being able to say no to things, which it's funny because I just finished Shonda Rhimes's Year of Yes. But she also talks about the power of being able to say no,
Yes.
because being able to say yes to things to get over your own anxiety and your own struggles is a very empowering thing. But what is also empowering is being able to say no to something that doesn't benefit you, like in any sort of way, that is going to take time out of your day and sacrifice time with your family or friends or people you want to spend time with. So yeah, I feel like, being able to say no is such an important tool that I wish I could have learned when I was younger, because a lot of things happen, I feel like, to where, I wouldn't have been in a certain situation if I would have just said no, if I would have just stayed home, because Emily and I were talking about this the other day too, like kind of like how animals have a sixth sense about things, humans do too. Like you can sense when something's off or when something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all a part of human interaction. Like when you walk into a room and somebody who you know their body language, like they don't even have to say anything and you can tell that something's wrong. So to be able to, figure that out and figure out, when it's important to you to be like, okay, this is you taking advantage of my niceness, my personality, so I'm just gonna say no to this situation. If you lose a friend, you lose a friend because if you say no one time and you lose a friend, they're not a real friend
No,
at the end
yeah,
of the day.
yeah.
So yeah, I think, realizing to say no and not apologizing, I mean, those two go hand in hand. I mean, they're one and the same basically because if you say no, you don't have to apologize for saying no. It's like that type of situation.
And so that leads right into my next one, my fourth one, which is honoring my feelings, which
Mm.
means not having to apologize for how I feel. I'm going to honor my feelings. I am going to be proud of how I feel, how I act, why I do what I do, why I am the way that I am, and not have to feel like I have to apologize for my feelings. If I'm upset about something, I don't have to be apologizing for that. If I'm happy about something that doesn't make you happy, I don't have to apologize about that. It's one of those things I feel like I've never been really good at. I feel like if I'm in a really good spot, I feel guilty, and so I apologize for being in really good spots. Or if I'm struggling and I'm upset and I get angry, I apologize for being angry, which is why. Anger's just as part of life as being happy is sometimes. And to
Hmm.
have to apologize for feeling bad about something or feeling upset about something is ridiculous. So one of my main goals is no matter what I'm going through, whatever phase I'm in, whether I'm really happy or if I'm upset about something or whatever, I'm going to honor those feelings. And I'm not going to feel guilty about them or apologize about how I feel. So honoring my feelings is very important this whole year. It's like, and it falls back into everything else we've been talking about. Like, this is how I feel. This is who I am. If you don't like that, boom, boundary. If you don't like, it's. But I've always had a really hard time. Just like I've always felt like I've had to constantly walk through life apologizing for who I am or what I've done. You know, yeah, have I done things that I'm not proud of? I think, of course, I have at certain points in my life. Everybody does, right? You're faced with situations, and sometimes you don't make the right decisions, and you make the wrong, But to carry that guilt and to consistently over the next decade apologize for those feelings, apologize for why you did what you did because you felt the way you felt at that particular time, you can't do that. I think the biggest key to mental health and mental stability is learning to live in the present. You can't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow because we don't know. And you can't live in the past because that shit is done. You have to learn to live in the present. That's where you're at. And I think that's the key to mental happiness and mental stability is learning to live in the present. Because
Hmm.
who you were yesterday and who you're going to be tomorrow is not who you are today. So you have to know that. You have to be like, whoever I am today is who I am, and that's okay. And if it's not the same tomorrow, that's okay too. And so yeah, it's really learning to honor my feelings and say this is how I was feeling and it's okay to feel that way, and I'm not going to apologize for being who I am or feeling how I feel. So it's because I run into that a lot, and I'm sure you do too, where somebody's actually has an opinion about how you should feel. Well, you should feel more upset about that, or you should be happy that you have this, or happy that you have like I shouldn't be anything but what I am. If
Right.
I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and that you shouldn't tell me how I should or should not feel. So, and I guess that goes on the outside too of not just honoring my own feelings, but plays back into that boundary setting with people respecting my feelings. As much as I need to honor my feelings, the people within my circle need to also honor my feelings and respect my feelings. And sometimes that's not easy to do. Sometimes it's, because people don't always handle situations and or life things in the same way, and the feelings are going to be different. So it's a big thing, I think, kind of like honoring where we're at and how we feel. Because I mean, I think we've both been in situations where we kind of ended up in places that we didn't want to be. I'm talking mentally, because we shut those feelings down.
Hmm.
We hid our feelings, our real feelings. We put on a mask, and we weren't honoring our feelings. We were hiding our feelings. If we were mad, we put the happy mask on. If we were happy about something that everybody else wasn't, hey, let's put the mad face on. We're mad too, even though we weren't mad about it, you know. And I think we've been there, and that gets us into these dark spots that we don't want to be in, because we're not being authentic to who we really are. And so I think the key of honoring your feelings is being authentic to who you really are. You know, isn't that life? You gotta live your best life, and in order to do that, you have to be authentic to your real self. I mean, it's how you got to do it.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Completely agree because I mean, there's so many different instances, and I mean, I really blame like the older generation because like I feel like a lot of people's trauma, like even past yours, like older
Damn baby
boomers,
boomers.
I just feel like, we were society as a whole was taught to be a certain way, and then over the past really I feel like it really started in the 90s when homosexuality was more open and the AIDS pandemic and like I mean it's still unraveling more and more each day, but I feel like, for so long humans and people in general, not just men, but men and women were a very certain way. And if you weren't that way, you were the oddball out. And I feel like up until the 90s when like the grunge era and like gothic era and like these type of things, people actually started to unwrap that little candy a little bit and be able to, slowly progress into who they want to be. Because I mean, how many stories do we hear about where somebody's like, yeah, my grandpa just came out as gay because he could never come out before.
Right.
It's those type of things. So to feel like they had to hide themselves for so long is such a sad thing. So yeah, to be not apologetic for who you are is so important. But mine's completely different from that. Mine is one that I'm gonna focus more on rather than doing, I'm going to focus more on not doing anything, which is taking breaks. I just, I'm a workaholic no matter if I'm doing this stuff. And I mean, it's the problem is, obviously we're balancing, chasing the dream and, pursuing other things in personal life and having a day job and all of these different things. And so I feel like once we eliminate that and can only focus on this and crazy, I think it's going to help immensely to take breaks. I'm not even going to lie about it. But um I feel like right now it's hard to look at this stuff as work because it's just so fun. We're creative
Yeah.
human beings. We love doing this. We love doing podcasts. We love creating graphics, shirts. We love talking to people. We love writing. We love all of these different things. So that's why it's hard to take breaks, but then I do get overwhelmed and then I do feel like I'm not doing something and I'm getting left behind and that type of stuff. So I have vowed, and I don't know if I told Emily this yet. So first scoop on everything's okay. When I go on the honeymoon, which is 5 days, I'm gonna leave my phone here and only take pictures with the camera. She's gonna bring her phone because
You got
she's
to,
gonna
just
take
in case
pictures
of an
with her.
emergency.
You gotta
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
somebody. But yeah, I'm gonna completely leave my phone and not be on social media, not talk to anybody, none of that the whole 5 days and just focus on my time with her. And I think that's gonna be so important. And I'm really looking forward to it too, as well. And the weird thing, I do have anxiety about it. I have anxiety about leaving my phone at home and then not having it for 5 days. It's like we didn't purchase the internet package, so it's not like I would even be getting on the internet, but I just won't physically have my phone. It's become so like a part of our body that we feel like we need it all the time. And it kind of leads into the TikTok short film that I'll be shooting and everybody will be seeing here soon. But yeah, I'm really excited about, being able to disconnect and leave things and be able to take more breaks this upcoming year. And I did really good about it the first 2 weekends, like Saturday and Sunday, you know, made my list on Sunday, and um made a graphic for the podcast on Saturday. Like that was it. I didn't even really I left my phone in the room and like just was doing other stuff the rest of the time. So that was actually really relaxing, being able to accomplish more stuff and be able to build more memories. But yeah, taking breaks is a big one for me. I know you know more than anybody, it's hard for me to take a break.
Yeah, you're a guy. This is a
So
guy that will literally send a memo to our staff about it's the holidays. Let's all take the time off and enjoy it with family and everything. And 6 minutes later, is sending out graphics that he just finished making. It's like,
mm,
no, man, that includes you. You take some time off. Oh no, but I just did this real quick, kind of a thing, you know. But you're right. I feel like sometimes when you're living the dream and you love what you do and you're so passionate about it, you don't even realize that you're doing it. It's just
yeah.
kind of a thing. I was at the gym today and somebody asked me what I did, and then it was an hour and a half later by the time I finished up. Like, you know, I felt like once I start talking, once I get into it and I light up and, oh my gosh, this is what I do and this is what I get to live every day. And it's so, you're so passionate about it that you don't realize that what you're doing is working and sometimes sacrificing time because you don't feel that way. Like, so it
Yeah.
is a difficult thing to know to take those breaks. But it is absolutely necessary because you don't always realize that you're doing it. And that's why burnout happens, because you don't realize that you're building to a burnout. And it always happens if you don't take breaks. There's no way to avoid it if you don't take breaks. So I'm super excited to hear that you're going to do that. And if you don't do that, I will literally fly into a port that one of you, the boat is going to dock at and take your fucking phone from you. It's like, what happened? Well, you remember this episode? Well, this is why I'm here. And why the fuck did I fly here to take your phone?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
so it's one of those, it's just one of those things. Another one for me, towards the end of last year, I really got back out and started to enjoy nature again and just disconnect. I occasionally do what you're talking about doing. I go off grid. I do these things where I don't answer the phone. I don't look at my text messages. I don't respond to anything. I go just completely off grid. But I've towards the end of 2023, I started doing it again nature-wise. I actually started going back to the mountains and hiking and going to chasing waterfalls and you know, walking along a stream and just sitting at a lake and taking in the sunrise or the sunset. And so in 2024, one of my goals is to continue to do that. Not only just take those off-grid breaks and relax, but to do it in nature. I always find that those breaks, those nature breaks where I'm hiking up a mountain or I'm sitting at a lake or I'm just enjoying, you know, any kind of a walk through a, you know, a floral area or whatever. Not only am I getting refreshed and I feel great from the break and health-wise, it's you're breathing in the fresh air and you're getting rejuvenated there, but creatively, I feel so much more creative after taking those breaks in nature because you get away from the outside world. There's no hustle and bustle. There's no other people. There's no city sounds. There's no cars. You don't hear sirens around the corner. It's just you and that brook stream or the waterfall or the birds chirping. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to like be able to go on my hikes and see deer every single day. Just beautiful deer every single day. Or to see the butterflies, or just to have you know how amazing it is when you're hiking up a mountain and you have a butterfly land on you and it just sticks with you as you're walking. It's just kind of, hey, this is cool, dude. How are you? Kind of. It's such an amazing feeling to know that you are a part of the bigger picture. It's like it takes it back to the top of this conversation, like what you said, that we're not in control. We are all part of the big picture. The universe has a plan for us. We are just on the path. We are just doing what, you know, the universe is telling us to do. And when you know that, when you realize that, and you realize that you connect to that, we are all connected to each other and to every living being and to nature itself. And it's such a sense of calmness and refocus and resetting. So I want to do so much more of that in 2024. I want to take my breaks where I'm just off grid in a cabin, off grid in a tent, off grid at the top of a fucking mountain. I found this amazing place that literally has these huge, what do they call them? Claw tubs, you know, those claw, like, kind of thing. It's literally in a fucking tree. It is a antique claw foot tub in a tree that looks out over the mountains. And you
Damn.
just sit there and you book it and you relax in this soaking tub with soaking salts or whatever you want to put in there in a tree by yourself for hours staring out over nature and the mountains. I mean, I can't think of a better way to relax than in a tub, soaking in a tree, looking out over the mountains. It's freaking amazing. And I'm like, oh, I am definitely doing that in 2024. It's little things like that, the disconnect. So one of my main goals, mental health goals, is to get out in nature more. I thoroughly enjoyed it at the end of last year, and I thoroughly plan on doing far more of it all of this year. I just think it's going to be an amazing thing. I'm every time I successfully make a hike, I'm like, yay me. Because sometimes it's a little bit rougher than you think. It's like, oh, they weren't kidding when they said this trail was hard and not moderate. Yeah, I mean, but you got to get up there. You got to do it. So, yeah, getting out into nature and enjoying outdoors more. That's going to be part of my mental goal to refresh and rejuvenate myself.
I know this past week was amazing as far as like getting out and just being outside and in a way taking the break away from screen time.
Yes. Yeah.
Because like I was able to do 6 out of the 7 days. I didn't do Friday because that's the day we record the other podcast. But to be able to, have that, I walked over 20 miles that week, which is
Yeah.
awesome. And like 4,100 calories burned, like, and it gets to the point where like it's becoming my normal routine. So it's not even like some days, of course, I don't really feel like going, but it's one of those things where I'm like, well, if I don't walk, what am I gonna do? Because I like to be a very busy, structured person.
Right.
So like, yeah, I love it, being outside and being able to just disconnect because then you also see more civilization. You see other people living their lives, which is also like it's a good thing to see because you're like, okay, other people are happy. I should be happy. Imagine what's going through in their life. I'm sure they're going through struggles and they're happy. So what am I doing? It's that type of thing.
And you
So
see their interaction with each other or with their
yeah,
children or with it could be a young couple in love or it could be an old couple that's been
exactly.
together. And as filmmakers, as storytellers, you have to draw from life. You have to draw
Yeah.
from experience. So to be out there witnessing the world and
Hmm.
witnessing these people, and not with the hustle and bustle of the city, the sounds, the distractions, just out
No.
in nature, seeing people living life and being happy
Yeah.
and being calm and just like, where are they at? How did they get to the point that they're at right now? And thinking about that, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I know people right now are be like, oh, they're talking about hiking and walking and all this exercise. And it's like, I thought this was about mental health. Guys, healthy body, healthy mind. It goes hand in hand. It
It really
literally is
does.
hand in hand. Your mental health is critically important to your physical health and vice versa. And not enough people realize that. And so when we say we're getting out and disconnected and going in nature and we're taking hikes and we're doing these walks, because it focuses us. It resets the mind. It mentally gets you into a good spot. And so it's just all there, man. It's all there.
It's really good, man. It is really good. I can always tell like this week is going to be interesting because it's going to be so cold, so I'm
Oh,
not going outside. So I'm
yeah.
sure I'll be able to tell mentally, like, okay, next week we need to get back in there because it makes you feel good. But I mean, my last one I think is very simple, and it's kind of I've always been a little bit of a self-sabotaging person, obviously, because when I was talking about apologizing last, I've said that I've been a people pleaser and always try to get inside other people's heads, which is so bad for your anxiety. And to where this year I am going to be my own best friend, changing the voice in my head from being negative to being positive. It's definitely been a very interesting thing to where like I'll think something and then I'm like, no, don't think that, and then come back and say something that's positive. Even sometimes I say stuff out loud, which I know sounds weird to people who don't talk to themselves out loud. And like, I mean, if you're not going through anything like seriously mental or seriously, physical with your health overall, like talking out loud to yourself or talking in the mirror just on short little spurts for positivity is really good because I mean, you reassure yourself. Even if you have to make yourself do it, it's really good to be able to become your best friend because you're supposed to be your biggest supporter.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah,
supposed to have rely on other people's support or love or happiness because like if you are waiting on someone else to applaud you or tell you that they're proud of you or any that stuff is going to happen naturally, but if you're waiting on it, every day that goes by or every minute that goes by, you're going to be disappointed.
yeah.
So to be your own biggest fan is one of the most important things in life. So I'm very excited. That's my most exciting thing for myself to be able to start on that journey. Because I just think it's going to change my whole perspective. And like I said, with starting it with all of the other four things that are on my goals for 2024, mental health wise, it's been amazing to be able to be my own best friend, to be able to talk about all these different things with other people who not might not even necessarily know my story, but to know that, I'm not thinking about what they're thinking. I'm thinking about what I'm thinking and
Yeah.
how like maybe I impacted them and that type of stuff. So it's really good. I'm really excited about 2024 and my journey overall. I think, it something about this year, it just feels special. I was talking to somebody the other day about that. Something about this year just feels special.
It does. It's got something happening. So again, it's that universe at play. Something is happening this year that's going to be amazing, and there's a feeling about it. And it's so funny because I feel like what you were saying there, self validation is so important because you're not always going to get that validation from outside sources. You have to do that self validation. And one of the funniest skits that people just mimic all the time is Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live, where he's Al Franken and he's in the mirror. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. And it went over, and everybody made. But it's so critically important. The reason that skit was so successful and people reference it all the time is because in reality, that self validation, that pumping yourself up, that being your biggest champion, is true. That's life. It's so critically important, which is why that skit went over so well because people were laughing at it because they knew it was true. You need to be in front of that mirror saying those things to yourself because it's so critically important. I just realized I had six, but I'm going to combine my final two because they go hand in hand. Less thinking, more doing. And that combines with getting more sleep. I have a tendency to overthink everything, and it gets me in trouble. I start to overthink things, and then I start to get negative. Typically, whenever I overthink something, it's negative. And it gets me like, oh, this is not going to happen. This is a bad thing. Uh-oh, this must be happening because of this. And it's normally the furthest thing from what I'm thinking. It's like I'm so far wrong almost 99% of the time of what I'm thinking that's causing me anguish, right? And then sometimes it's positive things. I overthink positive things, and it just like, so, but it plays into my inability to just sleep, to just relax and just rejuvenate. I average 4 hours of sleep a night, and sometimes less. Sometimes less. In fact, Logan and Emily pointed it out. It's like in a year, I sleep in the entire year on average what they sleep in like 3 months. That's my whole year. Like, so I have to, for health reasons and just for mentally health reasons, learn to sleep more. And how I need to learn to do that is to stop overthinking things. I truly believe that the reason I don't sleep well is because I lay there and constantly think. My mind is racing constantly about things it shouldn't be. And I have, over the last month or so, had these, I guess maybe even 3 months or so, these awesomely vivid dreams. Amazing dreams. But you don't get to have those when you can't sleep. And so, I've had a lot of revelations because of those dreams. And the film that I'm currently writing came from one of those dreams. It literally was like I had this dream about this person and he's going through this thing or whatever. Holy shit, I got to write this down. That's amazing. It happened because I fell asleep. And I never sleep.
Oh,
So my final goals there are to less thinking, more doing. Just get up and go. Just go with life. Don't overthink it. What happens happens. Live in the present. You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to worry about what happened before. I think that's a big thing. I overthink things because I live sometimes in the past. I go, yeah, but the last time this happened, this was the reason. That doesn't mean it's this time. Like, get out of there. Just go in the future. I mean, in the present, and just go. So yeah, my final one's critically less thinking, do more, and then sleep. Just sleep. It's okay to sleep
that's it.
because I
That's
don't
it. That's
sleep.
all good. That's
Oh
so
man.
funny. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, I feel like 2024 is going to be an amazing year, company wise, personal wise, family wise. It's just so much is happening. And I just think, it's all positive. Like there's no negativity. Because you see every time, like in December or January, the memes that are like, we're leaving 2023 behind so we can start over in 2024. I'm like, as for a certain point, like I do relate to that, but I'm tired of relating to that. I want to be able to be like, no, forget that. Let's make it a good year because we can make it a good year. We don't have to wallow in the negative stuff that happens. Deal with things. Don't not deal with things, but don't harbor things. Don't hold grudges. Just take time for yourself, be happy, and I think everything is going to be good for you in the long run because you're focusing on yourself and you're focusing on your mental health, and people will see that around you, and positivity rubs off.
Yeah,
So that's a huge
because
thing.
and because look, bad things are going to happen this year. The life
Yeah,
happens, and the
it
things
does.
that are going to happen that are not in your control. We're what 14, 15 days in. I've already had some roadblocks pop up for me, but I
Yeah,
approach them with a positive attitude because those were things that I just simply cannot control. They were nothing that I
exactly.
could do to change how they were going to happen. But what I can do is control how I react to them. And
Hmm.
that's the key in 2024. And, I'm glad that you said, people say, oh, let's leave that year behind. And we've been talking this whole episode about living in the present, right? Living in the present doesn't mean forgetting where you came from. Be
Yeah.
proud of where you came from. Be proud of what you accomplished and what you overcame. Don't forget your past. Just don't live in it. Like, live in the present, but don't ever forget where you came from because where you came from is part of who you are now. And so that idea of let's just write it all off and start over. It's great to start over. It's great to begin a new chapter, begin a new kind of but don't discard even the bad times, because all of that makes you who you are. So live in the present, but don't forget who you are and where you came from and how you've grown, because it's an amazing thing. And, yeah, I'm pumped. I really think this year, I'm like you. I just have this feeling. I don't know what it is, what's guiding it, but I just feel like this year is going to be life changing. Things are going to happen personally and professionally that profoundly change life for us this year, both individually and together. And it's going to be just I feel like we're going to grow much closer and have a much stronger bond than we already do. And it's going to be personally and professionally. And outside, we're going to have things happen on the outside that are going to make us stronger and closer. And it's going to be an amazing year, man. It's going to be an amazing
Yeah.
year.
It really is. It really is. And I mean, since we're doing this, since we're talking about all this, I think it's a proper time to tell you. I invited someone to the wedding, and I think you know what I'm talking about.
You did not.
I did. You only get one life, and remember, this is what it's all about.
Dude, I, I don't even know. To be continued. To be
To be
continued.
continued. Maybe next episode we're at each other's throats. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, but anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We appreciate it. I think 2024 is going to be amazing. And you guys know where to follow us at Everything's OKP. We're on YouTube at Crazy Ant Media. Follow us both personally, myself at J Logan Austin. And
At Crazy Ant CEO.
yes, yes, guys. And remember, no matter what happens, you do everything for love. And that's what it is all about. And just remember, everything's okay.